If I could have everyone take their places at their tables, that would be wonderful. Thank you, thank you. I want to welcome you to the Children's Museum of Tacoma Power of Play Luncheon, and we're so happy that you're here. My name is Holly Bamford Hunt, and I am a member of the board of the Children's Museum and also one of the chairs of this event, along with Liz Chambers and Vanessa Suresh, and I want to thank them so much for their hard work on this event. This has been quite the exciting year for the Children's Museum. Having opened up just 34 weeks ago in its new location on Pacific Avenue, and just last week having started a new preschool program, the Children's Museum planned to be accessible to everyone in its opening, and we begin to accomplish that accessibility through the pay-as-you-will admission model, which is going on currently at the museum's location. It is now time to increase that commitment and be even more intentional by reaching out to communities in needs of unique services. At the board retreat earlier this year, the board identified 4 communities that the Children's Museum of Tacoma will begin to partner with to increase accessibility. And these groups are families with children with special needs, military families, teen parents, and local Native families. The funds raised today at this luncheon will support those efforts, along with our Play to Learn programs across Pierce County. I would now like to introduce, after so many years of esteemed service to our district and our local communities, we are so privileged that Congressman Norm and his wife Susie Dix have agreed to be our honorary chairs for this luncheon. So with us today is Norm Dix, and I'd like to invite him up to the stage to say a few words. Thanks, Norm.
Thank you, Holly. I'm pleased to be here today. I regret that my wife, Susie, could not join me today, but she is, this week, the U.S. Capitol Historical Society is having their Freedom Award, and Susie is running that, so she had to be in D.C. But I want to thank all of you for, Susie and I were the honorary chairs. Somebody did a lot of good work. This looks like a much bigger event than any fundraiser I ever had in Tacoma, I might say. Susie and I are delighted and honored to be part of this very special Power of Play luncheon, because we have always believed in the power and importance of early childhood education. And before I go any further, I want to introduce my daughter-in-law and the mother of Cooper and Wilson, Ann Dix. Ann, would you stand up and be recognized? Ann told me that Cooper and Ryan, our 2 grandsons, liked the Children's Museum, and that Cooper was at a birthday party there on Saturday and approves of it very strongly. So, and of course, one thing that we all know is that early childhood education is absolutely critical. And I'm also pleased that the Children's Museum was awarded a competitive grant from the Institute of Museum and Library Services totaling $41,527, which is a pretty substantial grant from that federal agency. So let's give a little applause for the... Now, we know that so much of motivation and the interest children show later in their school years depends upon the influence and experiences they have in their initial years. As we know how important it is to give kids at early age practical and artistic activities that develop their interest and connection to the world around them. We have both been tremendously impressed with the connections that the Children's Museum makes for children in this community, and with the aggressive way in which the staff takes the museum's innovative programming to families at locations all across Pierce County. And I'm especially pleased that the Children's Museum has made a concerted effort to reach out to military families in our area. Given the stresses that the families are under, having a place where children and their parents can learn and play together is incredibly important. The museum's Play to Learn concept, in particular, focuses on this crucial period in kids' lives, an important time for developing mental functions as their language and motor skills emerge and they learn to socialize with other children, especially at a time when parents, and often just one parent, must juggle work schedules, transportation to daycare and preschools, as well as the other pressures on families today. It is more important than ever to give them thoughtful and more accessible ways to boost their children's interest and creativity through the kinds of activity the museum sponsors here in Tacoma. I'm proud to be here today and encouraged that so many in this community understand how valuable this museum is and how much it deserves our support so it can continue serving children and so it can also expand. We are united today in the cause of preparing the next generation of children for a lifetime of learning by helping them take the most important initial steps along the way. All of us want what's best for our children and their children, especially when you see how fast they grow up. Susie and I have now enjoyed watching 3 grandchildren in recent years, Wilson, Cooper, and Donica, and you realize that you just have a brief opportunity to influence them and to give them the spark that ignites the desire to learn. That's precisely what the unique and stimulating content of the Children's Museum activities and programs can do. And it is what all of us here today believe should be available for children in this community. So thank you for your support. It's also a real pleasure this afternoon to be here with Dr. Betty Hyde, a great friend and former superintendent of the Bremerton School District, who is now the director of the state's Department of Early Learning. During the years she led the Bremerton schools, I know she fought hard to improve kindergarten readiness, working with an array of local early learning organizations. And so I am looking forward to her relevant and insightful remarks today. Again, thank you all for supporting the Children's Museum, and I look forward to a wonderful event today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Norm. Thank you. We would actually love for you to please enjoy your lunch and the guests at your table, and we'll be back with you in a few minutes. Thanks.
It's my pleasure to serve as Executive Director of the Children's Museum of Tacoma. I love it. And it's where we celebrate the power of play in the lifelong journey of learning. Thank you for joining us today. This is our 10th Power Play Lunch, which is kind of hard to believe. And obviously, this has been a really exciting year for the Children's Museum. I'm going to share a little bit more about that, but first I'd like to share some gratitude. I would like to first thank our honorary chairs, Norm and Susie Dixon. Congressman, thank you for being here with us today. Thank you for all you've done for our community, in particular your support in creating the university and the museum district here in downtown Tacoma. The Children's Museum is proud to be the newest member of that neighborhood, and we thank you for helping to create such a wonderful place to be. And our working chairs for this year's Power of Play Lunch, Holly Hunt, Vanessa Suresh, and Liz Chambers, were an amazing trio of creativity, dedication, and generosity. Thank you very much for making today, which, by the way, is the largest lunch in the museum's history, so lovely. And this is the largest lunch because of our table captains. So thanks to all of you who recruited your friends, your family, your colleagues. Thank you all for being here today to celebrate the power of play. And I have to also thank our corporate sponsors. They're very important to us. We appreciate the support we receive from everyone, and particularly our perennial sponsors, Columbia Bank and the Boeing Company, both of whom have made young children in our community a top priority, so thank you. Lastly, I would like to acknowledge the Children's Museum's Board of Directors. A bold vision for a creative play space with staunch dedication to equal access has been just one of their gifts to this community. The vision is earning national attention, and I would like to ask that we all take a moment to recognize the board for their pioneering thinking. So when I stood before you last year at the lunch, and it's always lovely to see so many repeating familiar faces, we were on the cusp of our largest milestone. After nearly a decade of searching, we were about to open a new museum. That was some mountain to climb, and it demanded patience, tenacity, and absolute commitment from all of the museum's friends and supporters. Many of you here in the room took that climb with us. On January 14th, we reached the top of the mountain and opened the new museum. 8 months later, we've seen nearly 85,000 people, on track to do well over 100,000 in our first year, over three times what we served in our old location. The space, which I hope you all have seen or have a chance to see, the space is beautiful. It's an intentionally designed space, and it invites from its visitors creativity and joy. And like Holly mentioned, one of the most wonderful things to me is that we're open to everybody. We're the first privately funded children's museum in the country to offer pay-as-you-will admission, meaning that every young child, family, and caregiver can spend time connecting, learning, and loving through play, regardless of the financial demands on their lives. The museum is pushing the edges of accessibility, and as Holly mentioned at the beginning of the lunch, we are looking and listening carefully to our community to seek out places and people who need play's gift in their lives. You'll learn more about that work later in the lunch. But once you reach the top of a mountain, once you finish a climb, what do? You take a couple deep breaths, you recalibrate, you get adjusted to your new altitude, you soak in the vista, and you're proud and you appreciate being on top. Then you look to see what there is to further discover. And you see things that you could not have seen had you not challenged yourself to climb that mountain and get to the top. You also get a little philosophical. So here's my reflection for you today from the top. What is it that we hope for our children in our community? I'm going to say that again. What is it that we hope for our children in our community? I attended what was for me a transformational lecture 2 years ago at a National Children's Museum meeting. A transcript of that speech is actually underneath your lunch plates. I have copies for everybody. Many of my good friends in this room already have a copy of that speech. I carry a copy of that speech in my bag, and I read it often. Dr. Peter Benson of Minnesota's Search Institute challenges the norms of community measurement. In our society, we can tell you exactly how many people go hungry or aren't, quote, ready for school. Can we, or better yet, why don't we quantify thriving and happiness? What is it that we wish for our children in our community? I'm looking right now at an audience of 350 people strong. You're the people that get things done in our community. You're our politicians, our doctors, our educators, our newspaper publishers, CEOs, philanthropists, parents, the list goes on. You are the people designing and influencing the systems and messages surrounding children and young families. You're designing and implementing the systems that surround young families. I couldn't not share this article with you, and if half of you read it, I'll be thrilled. I've got your email addresses, and I'm going to invite you to the Children's Museum to talk about this article with me because I think it's that important, or at least I want to challenge you to think about it. What is it that we hope for our children in our community? It's not one conversation, it's going to be many, but don't you think we should start having it? Children's museums are about people, not things, and as long as we have little people in our community, I hope we keep climbing toward new vistas, ask new questions, and seek new opportunities. I know the Children's Museum will, and we invite you along. Thank you. Caring for the young children and families in our community is cooperative work, and there are many out there doing outstanding things and making lasting change, even if it's just one child at a time. Each year, the Children's Museum recognizes a person or agency for their extraordinary work in the field of early childhood development. We award them the Pierce County Great Friend to Kids Award. This year, our selection committee, which is composed of past award recipients and past honorary chairs of the lunch, we are thrilled to recognize the work of Hope Sparks, which is led by an extraordinary leader, David Dewey. Hope Sparks is one of the oldest human service nonprofits in our community with over 100-year tradition of caring service. Their mission is to strengthen families by inspiring courage and confidence to make a lasting change. Hope Sparks helps the children and families who are facing extreme trauma and challenge. Hope Sparks hears the stories that I doubt any of us in the room have the stomach to hear. Tough stuff. But they approach their work positively with hope, and most important to me, playfully. They are working diligently to provide more families access to evidence-rooted play and art-based therapy approaches. Their executive director, David Dewey, is an inspiring leader and someone who I'm happy to call a friend. So please help me in congratulating Hope Sparks. David, would you and the congressman please join me on stage?
Thank you. Appreciate it. Real quickly, this is an award that we are so honored to receive from the Children's Museum staff. Get down there. It's inspiring. It inspires you to play. Plato said that if you take an hour of playing with someone, you will learn more about them than a year of conversation. Our staff do amazing things with kids that have come in with horrific stories or really challenging learning delays. And I am just amazed to watch them play with kids, watch them heal, watch them learn. So thank you, and this is really for the staff. And thank you, Children's Museum.
Congratulations again, David, and thank you for helping some of our community's most fragile little ones reclaim childhood. It's now my great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker today, Dr. Betty Hyde, Director of the Washington State Department of Early Learning. Under the leadership of Governor Gary Locke, the Department of Early Learning was created and housed the first cabinet-level director position of its kind in the United States. Dr. Betty Hyde was appointed director of the department in 2009 by our Governor Gregoire. Under Dr. Hyde's leadership, Washington State is seen as a national leader in research and application in early learning. Dr. Hyde holds her PhD in child psychology and early childhood development. Her formal bio is in your program, but I can attest that under her leadership, the Department of Early Learning has also climbed ambitious mountains and has had great success, including securing a federal Race to the Top grant award. Washington was one of only 9 states to receive that award. Dr. Hyde has a reputation for being accessible, positive about children and families, and an effective leader who has earned broad support in Olympia and across the state. Please enjoy and help me welcome Dr. Betty Hyde.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, whichever it's become. Dealing with a bunch of people that care about early learning and play, you're my kind of folks. It doesn't get any better than Norm Dix. Norm, it's always a pleasure to see you and be with you. Thank you for your leadership on countless fronts for us. We appreciate you. So now I have to work a little clicker thing. So let's see. Play. We're talking about the power of play, but you know, as I look and think about it, it has kind of a bad rap in some places. This can't be the case. People talk about just playing around, or it's child's play. It's often looked as being opposite of something constructive. Even if you go to Webster, the old dictionary, if you still have one, and look it up, you see definitions like to deal or behave carelessly or indifferently, to participate in a betting game, to act in sport or jest. But hey, wait a minute, that's one people's view of play. As an early learning provider and as a mother and a grandmother, I'm here to tell you that it is incredibly important in every child's development. It is how they develop. For some of our most outstanding speakers in the field, it is child development. Jean Piaget, more recently David Elkind, this is how they learn and figure out their world. Play is so important, I found this interesting. It's been recognized by the United Nations High Commission for Human Rights as the right of every child. How beautiful and how important. No matter where they live, what kind of country, they have a right to play. Play helps children in so many ways. Let me move forward here. Yes, good. It helps them figure out their world. Piaget especially was talking about when infants are born, the thing that attracts their attention is movement and contrast. And the place that has the most movement and contrast is mother's face, her eyes, her teeth. And so they look at the mother who says, oh, he likes me. And she smiles, you smile back, you get this serve in return, dance that they do, bonding with each other, loving each other. It helps kids figure out cause and effect. They lie in their crib and wiggle, and the mobile moves, they laugh, they do it again. They're causing something to happen. They're feeling powerful and figuring out their world. How many times do you have a child or a grandchild throw things off a high chair? You pick it up, they throw it again. It always goes down. They are literally figuring out gravity. They don't call it that. If you give a young child a helium balloon, they start to cry because it doesn't go down. Their laws are suddenly shaken. So it's very important in figuring out their world. It helps them try things out in a safe area. It's safe to try things out in play. You've seen little children talk to their bear like they were mommy. It's okay, just don't worry about it. Or just forget about it, it's all right. So they're trying out the things they hear parents say. How many times have you seen a child? In fact, I saw a child at not this museum, but another museum with a block going, can you hear me now? I wonder where they're getting that from. And they mirror all of our parents' mannerisms, good or bad. What you do, you see them do, much to your pleasure or dismay, depending on what they're doing. It's another way to help them work through issues. The children master in play what they can't master in the real world. That's how they refine it. That's how they practice it. It's a basis of play therapy. It helps them figure out and make changes that help them master their world. It teaches and allows them to practice the critical skills of interpersonal behavior. More and more we know how important interpersonal behavior is for young children, then and throughout life. People like James Heckman, a noted economist, think that's one of the critical values of early learning, getting along with other people. What a concept. It teaches them how to cooperate and compete. In our lives, you need to do both, and there's a right time and place for either. Do them together, and you have to assess when is right. Play teaches many, many, many skills. This is an incomplete list. But it teaches verbalization. They practice saying words. They listen and they comprehend what you want. They build vocabulary. They climb, pay, imagine, create, do all kinds of wonderful skills that are important, increasingly so for adults in our world. Imagination, risk-taking. But there's, curiosity, empathy. All those things are built through play. Studies find that children that have been in playful experiences were highly skilled in the art of self-education and self-regulation. How do you control yourself to interact in appropriate ways with other children, later adults? Later in their life, children that had been in playful environments early on had significantly fewer felony arrests, go figure, and had significantly fewer years of special education for emotional needs. Still more on play. Children solve problems first in their physical world, with their teddy bear, with their dolls, and then later apply it to their social world. It's safer in the physical world. And when you master it there in play, then you can try it out with your mom, your siblings, your peers. There is some concern recently from some educators that kindergarten has become far too academic, schoolified, and structured. And there's a difference between having organized physical education and on your time, go play as you will. Very different skills are called for, and we need more of that. Our country is still the leader in developing entrepreneurs, people that play. Play is important. And learning, people say, what's more important, learning or play? Well, that's a silly question. They're both the same. As kids are playing, they're learning. As they're learning, they're playing. And it's all a matter of balance. I want to have us look for a minute at a video that shows you, rather than me talking at you, about the power of play.
Science tells us that brains, minds, are built, not born. And at the center of this dynamic architecture are a set of skills called executive function and self-regulation.
Children's self-regulation and executive function are key ingredients in their lifetime performance. It's not just about learning language or learning numbers or learning colors. We have to be able to work effectively with others, with distractions, with multiple demands. These actually are skills that contribute to the productivity of the American workforce.
Just look at your shapes. What should you have done next?
Educators, I think, are looking for just this sort of thing. And when we describe what we mean by executive function, they say, yes, that's it. That's exactly, the problem. These kids, they can tell me these rules, but they can't actually use them.
What's this?
A toolbox.
A toolbox.
What is executive function?
Safety goggles.
Safety goggles. Probably the best way to think about it is sort of like an air traffic control system in the brain. Just like an air traffic control system has to manage lots of airplanes going on lots of runways and really exquisite timing and so on, a child has to manage a lot of information and avoid distractions. We really think of it as involving working memory and inhibitory control and mental flexibility. Take a situation where a child is having to take turns. So first of all, the child has to have inhibitory control. The child has to be able to stop whatever he or she is doing and let the other child take a turn.
Cute.
But when it's your turn again, you also have to remember what it is you're supposed to be doing. So that pulls on working memory. If the children who are taking the turns after you do something unpredictable, you have to be able to adjust what you're going to do next. And that requires mental flexibility. Children who are struggling with these capacities often look like children who just aren't paying attention, or children who are deliberately not controlling themselves.
If you don't have self-regulation, you act out and the teacher puts you in timeout, and so then you miss part of the learning that's going on, and then you are more upset because you're behind, and so you act out, and so you get this downward spiral.
How does executive function develop?
7. And +4.
In little children, and even in the infant and toddler years, you begin to see the roots of executive functioning skills. What's going on in our brains is unbelievably intricate and complicated.
The prefrontal cortex, or the front third of the brain, is important for executive function. But it's more than just prefrontal cortex. This region doesn't act alone. It's involved in controlling your behavior through its interactions with all other parts of the brain. The brain goes from a situation where you've got nearest neurons communicating very strongly with each other and ignoring the rest of the brain, to these widespread networks that are connecting these different areas. Executive function changes over the life course. It improves radically over the first few years.
I got a match brand.
It continues to improve throughout adolescence. It's not until early adulthood that you have the adult-type networks that are very strongly activated that connect different brain regions together.
Let's take notes.
Also, we believe that executive functions can be trained.
It's just like going to the gym. So the more you practice in these areas, the stronger the capacity is likely to become, because you're hoping to strengthen those neural connections.
You're at 24.
Slowly but surely, you're going to be able to step back, and that child's going to go into the world with these skills where they can get along with other people, change rules, and they can be flexible, and they can accomplish new things, and they're unafraid.
I got bit by my dog in my arm. Oh dear.
If we don't learn these skills during the childhood and adolescent years when they're coming online, we are really ill-equipped as an adult to hold a job, to maintain a marriage, to raise children, to get along with each other, to basically be part of a civil society.
You're okay.
So all those things are happening while children are in front of you playing, having fun, laughing. What a powerful time of their life. I want to close, by thanking the Children's Museum of Tacoma. What a wonderful bunch of people. You know that, and you know it shows by all the people, friends who come out and support you. Thank you for valuing and knowing the value of play, how important it is, and all the brain growth and adult learning growth that's happening while children are having fun. Thank you for teaching and modeling. I just learned about your pay-as-you-will policy. You know, what a wonderful gift to the community. Everybody can come. What I love about the museum, even at your old location, is it's very high quality, and I have to see the new one. I bet it's even better. It's accessible, even more so with Play As You Will. It's welcoming, and it's fun. So I'll have to get my grandson and go check it out. Thank you for all you do and your support of the museum and your support of little children learning. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, Betty, for your thought-provoking comments. Well, now it's the moment you've all been waiting for. But first, a video. I'd like to introduce a video that highlights some of the exciting activities going on at the museum. And also, we've been talking about some of the groups that the museum has been reaching out to, and this video will provide a highlight of that.
It's exciting to watch the museum. In the time it's been here on Pacific Avenue in their new building, I have seen them pursue their mission with courage and strategy and great intention. And I can already see them making a difference both inside the walls of this new building as well as outside into the broader community. It's very exciting.
With 26 plus years of experience and a new home base full of open-ended play opportunities, the Children's Museum of Tacoma reaches out into Puget Sound communities to meet the diverse needs of all children and families.
We're not exactly sure what the Voyager is, but what we do know is it takes you on any journey of your imagination. And it's so much fun. You'll have chances to climb up and down.
Recognizing the need for affordable, quality early childhood play-based programs in our region and the limited access to these kinds of programs for many groups, the museum has pledged to offer programming in-house and in outreach locations throughout Pierce County on a pay-as-you-will basis, unlike any other museum in Washington state.
I think it's incredibly strategic for this community. Tacoma Pierce County is an economically challenged area. The poverty rate is high, and removing the barrier of entry, the cost of admissions, taking that barrier away and allowing all our children access to the benefits of the museum is really, really important.
Play to Learn, a free preschool program for children and their adult caregivers, now exists in 8 locations throughout Pierce County, serving approximately 10,000 people annually. Play to Learn is on track to grow by 50% in sites and numbers served by the end of the current school year.
I am so impressed that this is a free service. I try to tell as many people as possible about it, but it's been really amazing that so many people are willing to donate and make sure that it's free. I don't think we would do something like this if it weren't free. And I know there's a lot of families in the area that need some tools and information for sharing with their kids and learning how to play with their children. So it's been amazing.
It's crucial to make significant investments in children and early learning because learning starts before elementary school. Learning starts in our first years, and that's what the Children's Museum is about. And if we're going to make lasting and transformational change in our community, we have to invest in children and learning.
A new program launched this year, providing museum group visits for teen parents and their children, and a curriculum collaboration within the Tacoma School District will provide playful parenting tools for these young moms and dads.
I see my own daughter, she's just checking it out herself along with her son, and just the interaction between the other kids, the playing, they're just having so much fun. It's like the parent wants to could just get right in there with them and have the same amount of fun.
Yeah, I teach her a lot of new things.
Is she happy or what?
Opening the museum once a month just for families with children with special needs who may benefit from quieter times and open space in the museum play environments will help to meet the needs of these underserved families.
We love the Children's Museum. We've come several times before, but Granger's not been able to be as free in his own movement. Being able to see him be free in here to move around as much as he wants and enjoy all of the areas of the museum with that freedom is awesome.
Programs are being planned with local Native families and for families of those serving in our military. These communities have expressed a need for positive ways and places to use play with their young children, to learn, to grow, and to thrive, and the museum is honored to be their partner.
We've been in the hospital so much lately, and it's our first outing and to be here. So we're having the best time. The kids, first time I've heard the laughter in a while. Thank you.
The Children's Museum of Tacoma, believing in the power of play in the lifelong journey of learning. Thank you. It's great to hear the words of the parents and the community members speaking about their love for the museum. I just want to say a little bit about my connection to the museum. From the moment I was first introduced to the Children's Museum, which was probably following my then cautious 2-year-old, who's now a bold 10, it's her birthday today, through the exploration of all the fruits and vegetables at the Garden Cafe exhibit, I felt connected on an emotional level to this organization and these people, knowing that the Children's Museum of Tacoma holds a deep respect for children and the way they interact with the world, constructing their knowledge through play. Since those first days of early parenthood, I've enjoyed bringing my 3 children to explore the open-ended exhibits that spark their imaginations, and I've loved participating along with them in museum activities. I love listening to the stories my 4-year-old creates when he puts on his favorite bird wings and flies through the woods area. When I ask 4-year-old Eli what he likes about the museum, he first tells me, well, everything. Then he reflects some more. You know, they have telephones there that you can use to talk to people. He reminds me every day that in play, children are creating and they are communicating. At times when I've been at the museum without my own kids, I've found it a profound experience to observe children along with their caregivers engaging in the environment through play and witnessing that process of discovery, of creativity and communication. They're discovering their sparks. In my experience as a preschool teacher in the past, in the classroom, and as a parent educator working with families, I found that play opens up so many doors. It can lead to discovery, to creativity, to problem solving, self-expression, language. Indeed, it's the right of all children. The Children's Museums work to increase access for all families through their pay-as-you-will admission model. Their groups and playtimes for family with children with special needs and for teen parents, and this expansion of Play to Learn ensures that this is possible for families across Pierce County. I feel that the Children's Museum of Tacoma is building community in the context of trusted relationships, which from my experience as a teacher is how we all learn. Play can build relationships, and indeed it can build communities. Play is powerful. So it comes to this. How do you want to value play and its power? You can open a door for others. You can make a difference by getting involved in the Children's Museum mission and programs. You can be part of this compassionate community. Even if you don't have a child or a grandchild who is participating in the museum's programs, you can take part in that process of discovery, of family support, of relationship building and community building through play by giving. And you can make a difference by helping children to learn, to grow, and to thrive. So I challenge you now to think about what you are going to give and perhaps stretch that value. I'd love to see this group raise $70,000. I will leave you to take your donation envelopes with a quote from John Dewey. What the best and wisest parent wants for his or her own children, that must the community want for all its children. Thank you so much for making a difference and for supporting the power of play. So table captains, you may pass envelopes, please. Thank you for your help. Before we officially close the lunch, thank you. I know many of you are probably still pondering and writing and saying goodbyes. I just want to, before we close the lunch, say thank yous again. We're so grateful that Norm and Susie Dix have offered to be our honorary chairs. And I would also like to thank Betty Hyde for her speech. And congratulations to Hope Sparks with the Great Friends to Kids Award. Thank you so much to our luncheon chairs, Liz and Vanessa, and our fantastic table captains. We appreciate all your hard work. I'd also like to make a special thank you to my Aunt Catherine Bamford, who designed the displays up here on the stage. Thank you very much, Catherine. And they come check them out. We would really also like to extend an invitation to you following the lunch. If you have additional time this afternoon, there will be a post-toast at the museum's location on Pacific Avenue. So come on down for champagne or coffee if you're able to do that. And that will be directly following the close of the lunch here. Thanks again.